Hello everybody, Maven here, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. Today is going to be somewhat of a part 2 to the rocket launcher video we did a while back called Eyes of Tomorrow versus all exotic rocket launchers. I'll link that in the card in the top right corner if you're interested, but basically Eyes of Tomorrow got a huge buff when we were testing it to see if it was a new best launcher. Turns out it wasn't quite the best, but it was still really good. Anyways, we got another buffed rocket launcher this week. And that is, believe it or not, the Gjallarhorn. You might think, wait, I saw in the TWAB they nerfed Gjallarhorn. No, it's actually a buff. And I actually saw this in a Rick Kakis video, which I'll link down below. I'll also link the other rocket launcher video I did down below if you want to check both of those videos out. Rick Kakis goes into more detail about why the Gjallarhorn is buffed. But to put it simply in a nutshell, when you shoot a rocket at an ad, it will do 2 ticks of damage. It's going to do the impact damage and then the blast damage. Now, the Gjallarhorn never did that because it had a proximity detonation, so it would only get the proximity, it would only get the blast damage, but there was never any impact because it would explode just like a little millimeter before it would ever touch the target, so there was no impact. But in a recent TWAB, they said that, you know, the hit registration on the galley was too much. So they removed the proximity detonation, making it so that Gjallarhorn now has an added impact damage. So it is now doing a lot more damage than it once did. Now, in that video that I did a while back, Gjallarhorn was not too impressive. But now with this new buff, we have to test it out again. So to save some time, we're not going to test the galley against every exotic rocket like we did in that video. You'll have to go check out the video if you want to see how the other rockets performed. I'm only going to test it against the top 3 performers from that video. So I'm about to spoil what they are in 3, 2, 1. So we're testing against the Deathbringer, the Eyes of Tomorrow, and the Hothead Adept when the Hothead is paired with the galley for Wolfpack rounds on the legendary rocket launcher buff. So the role that we're using on the Hothead this time is going to be field prep with clown cartridge for maximum DPS and maximum ammo reserves with impact casing and adept big ones. And we're all testing them fused to the hard cap for this season rather than the bottom 1350 like I did last time. So they'll be infused up to level so they can do more damage. And I will be putting on double rocket reserves. And in the last video, I only shot 8 rockets per rocket launcher. But this time I'm going to shoot all the reserves I possibly can just to show like the maximum DPS that these launchers can do, at least in a damage phase against Pharizia, the ogre boss from the Grasp of Avarice dungeon. So with that, let's get to it. And if you're new here and you enjoy PvE and PvP weapon testing and build crafting, then you come to the right place because we do that a lot here. So consider subscribing and liking. And with that, let's get to the testing. Hope you enjoy.
Galley.
So as usual, we're setting the bar with the namesake weapon of the video. The galley hit 972k, which is not bad at all. Could be better, but it did way better than in the last video when it hit under 800,000. So this buff definitely made a jump in damage a lot. And I was also told that there is a hidden damage number from the Wolfpack rounds that doesn't show. So it should be like over 1 million. I don't know by how much, but it's not the total damage where galley shines. It shines in burst damage, ad clear, and also providing that Wolfpack round buff to your teammates.
Eyes of Tomorrow.
So the Eyes of Tomorrow was definitely the tightest damage phase. It took a few tries to get all 9 rockets in, and we still had a 10th rocket to spare. It has a lot of ammo reserves and has a lot more damage output than the Gjallarhorn. However, where the Gjallarhorn shines is the burst damage, the ad clear, and being able to provide that pack hunter buff for your teammates. So they're very comparable in ways. Like Eyes of Tomorrow is not that bad for ad clear either, but it's definitely way better for single target damage, I would say. And that 30% buff it got also applies towards champions, so it might be something to consider using in a Grandmaster.
Hothead.
And next up, we have the Hothead Adept paired with the Pack Hunter buff for my teammates Gjallarhorn. And this one by far wins in the quickest damage output, and it does a very respectable amount of damage. I don't know how it would do alone. I probably should have tested that, but it does have 10 in the reserves because of field prep, so it could potentially still have a lot of damage output. And the field prep making it reload super fast, faster than Gally, having one more in the reserves than Gally, and also that clown cartridge, so you also have two in the clip like Gally. I don't know, the Hothead Adept might be pretty good on its own.
Deathbringer.
And finally, the Deathbringer. This thing was the top performer in the last video, and I already knew it'd be the top performer again. Deathbringer is insane if you can use it correctly. I did miss a lot of my crits. I had to shoot a little higher, but if you shoot a little higher, you have a big risk of those projectiles veering off and whiffing. However, I did hit most of my projectiles. I did miss 2 at the very end when he went immune. However, in a previous run I managed to hit 1.44 million damage, so just a little bit higher, but I forgot to click record. And after a couple more runs, I couldn't replicate it, so I decided to just use this clip. We still did pretty good and hit most of our shots. So to wrap this video up, let's answer the question, is Gjallarhorn the best launcher in the game now, as it already was, with this new buff? So compared to the Eyes of Tomorrow, I would probably still use the Gjallarhorn. They're both good at ad clear. I mean, Eyes of Tomorrow can lock onto 5 targets, but it's kind of a struggle. Gjallarhorn, you just like aim it in a direction and just shoot. You don't even have to aim at all. You can just hip fire it at the floor and it'll clear out the entire room. So Gally wins for ad clear. However, the Eyes of Tomorrow wins for single target damage. Like, it has more in the reserves. It has one more in the reserve than the Gjallarhorn does. So if you're planning on just using it for champions or for boss damage, I would probably go with the Eyes of Tomorrow. And compared to the Hothead Adept, it's no secret that the Hothead performed way better and faster than the Gjallarhorn. So if one of your teammates is using a Gjallarhorn, if I were you, I would use a Hothead. But if nobody on your team's using a Gjallarhorn, then you might as well just use the Gjallarhorn if you're going to use a rocket. And finally, compared to the Deathbringer, I really do not know which rocket to side with here. Deathbringer is insane. It's also really good for ad clear, and the single target damage, if you can connect all your projectiles, and if most, if not all of your projectiles are yellow numbers, the single target damage is mind-blowingly massive. Way more than Gjallarhorn does. It makes it laughable. But again, it's kind of RNG. It's not as user-friendly. You have to do a little bit of setup. You got to be in a bigger room. Gjallarhorn is literally just point and shoot. Point and shoot. It's simple as that. Deathbringer is not as easy, but it's way more rewarding if you can use it correctly. For me personally, I love the Deathbringer a lot more, but the ease of use of Gjallarhorn you just cannot deny. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What rocket do you think is the best? So that is going to do it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button and leave a comment down below. Those 2 actions really help the algorithm and the video's performance. And if you are new, consider subscribing. Feel free to leave your feedback and suggestions, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.